A good microphone is an essential piece of equipment in podcasting, but with so many different options like XLR versus USB, dynamic versus condenser microphones, omnidirectional versus unidirectional microphones, it is normal for you to get confused as to what is the best microphone for your podcasting needs. We'll pick each of these and discuss them in much detail in the next few episodes. But for today, we'll focus on XLR versus USB microphones and which out of this is the best for your podcasting needs. Hello and welcome to TPU TV. This is Dilip. I'm a podcaster, blogger, and affiliate marketer who's been into the content marketing business for more than 15 years now. If you're new to this channel, then this is a channel where I talk about podcasting tips and help you get started with your own podcast without a lot of investment and with all of the unnecessary noise cut away. So if you're new to this channel, then you might want to subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification in order to stay updated with all of the latest episodes that I release. And also, don't miss out on some of the practical and implementable tips that I share on this channel to get started with your podcast. You'll be able to find the subscribe button somewhere here and also the bell notification. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button today itself and click the bell notification. Don't forget to do that. So, with that out of the way, on to today's topic, XLR versus USB microphones. What is the best microphone for your podcasting needs? And what exactly are these microphones? Now, here is what we will cover. We'll cover how does these microphones work and how are they different from each other. Then we'll look at the advantages and disadvantages of the USB microphone and the advantages and disadvantages of the XLR microphone. And finally, we'll look at some of the recommended microphones in each of these categories. So let's get started. First things first. How do these microphones work and what is the difference between these two microphones? Now, the primary difference in these two microphones is in the connection or the connection pin that is used. Now, in the case of an XLR microphone, like what I said, it will be using an XLR cable like this, which will have 3 pins here. This is how the 3 pins work. You can see this is how the 3 pins work. And in the case of a USB microphone, it will be using a USB cable or a USB pin to connect to the microphone, and the output from each of these microphones is also going to be same, which means the output from the XLR microphone is going to be through an XLR cable, which will be a 3-pin connector, and the output from a USB microphone is going to be through a USB type A type of connection. So that is the primary difference between these two microphones. But then that's not all. There is a major difference in the way the audio signal is transmitted in both of these microphones. Without getting too much techie, XLR microphone. Now XLR in this XLR microphone stands for external line return, which is a very technical jargon to get into, so we don't want to get into that. But the XLR microphone transmits audio in the form of analog signals, and in order for your computer to read these audio signals, it will need to be converted into a digital signal, which can only be done by using an audio interface, which means that if you're using an XLR microphone, then you will need an equipment called as the audio interface to transmit this signal to your computer and record it onto your computer. So that is how the XLR microphones work, whereas the USB microphone has an inbuilt digital converter, which basically converts the analog signal into a digital signal, and your computer can read these signals through the USB input. So all that you need to do in a USB microphone is just to plug it onto the USB interface, and your computer can record the audio that is coming out of these microphones. Now that's the primary difference between these two microphones. Now, one of the common questions that a lot of people have is that, is there an audio quality difference between USB microphones and XLR microphones? So the single word answer is no. Both of these microphones use pretty much the same capsules and the condenser elements. So the audio that is captured by both of these microphones is pretty much the same. And the way it is transmitted is the only difference. One uses the analog mode and the other one uses the digital mode. So that is the only difference. So essentially, if you look at it, there is no difference in the quality that you will get from these microphones. But then if you're going for a low cost USB microphone, the elements that are used in that microphone might not be that great or of high quality, which means that there will be some compromise on the audio quality that you're going to get, which is pretty much the same with XLR microphones as well. So if you go for a low cost XLR microphone, the audio quality might not be great in that too. So if you look at it, then from an audio quality perspective, there isn't going to be too much of a difference between an XLR microphone and a USB microphone. Now, having said that, I also need to say that there are some experts who say that the XLR microphones offer better quality than that of USB microphones, and that the USB microphone can never match the quality of an XLR microphone, primarily because XLR is the technology or the accepted technology in the field of audio. So that is one of the primary reasons why these experts say that XLR is something that will give you better audio quality than USB microphones. But then, I have never seen that kind of a variation in podcasting specifically. But if you're into professional audio, you are a singer or you are a musician, then you might see some difference in quality in both of these microphones. But from a podcasting perspective, there isn't much that you will be able to see if you're using a USB microphone and versus an XLR microphone. Now, let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of a USB microphone. To begin with, the biggest advantage of a USB microphone is the ease of use. Because if you want to start recording using a USB microphone, all that you need to do is just place the microphone on your desk, plug the cable into the USB interface of your computer, and you are ready to get started. So it is that easy to get started with a USB microphone. And this is the biggest advantage of using a USB microphone. So if you are a solo podcaster recording from your home, or maybe a corner in your home, or you are recording remote interviews using a software like that of Zencaster, then in that case, a USB microphone is probably the best option for you because it is easy to set up. There is no hassles in terms of setting things up. You can plug and play and get started with your podcast. So if you are a solo podcaster, then the recommended microphone for you is a USB microphone. And if you travel frequently, then again, a USB microphone can be extremely convenient for you to carry and get started with wherever it is that you travel. So a USB microphone is something that will be recommended for you if you travel frequently and record from different places. Now, the biggest disadvantage of a USB microphone is in the fact that you cannot record multiple microphones onto your computer. Why? Because your computer isn't equipped to handle the audio signals that are coming in from multiple USB interfaces on your computer. Just because that technology isn't available, you cannot plug multiple USB microphones into the same computer and record it into Audacity or whatever DAW you're using. So that is the biggest disadvantage with using a USB microphone. So if you are recording in a room and you're two people who are recording a podcast, and if you want to use two USB microphones, then it isn't the ideal situation to be in. Either you'll have to record it into two different computers and then mix it, or you will have to go for a XLR microphone. Now, another big disadvantage of the USB microphones is in the number of options that are available. Now, primarily because USB microphones isn't something that is used by a lot of professionals, and most of these microphone manufacturers cater to the professional needs of the professional industry, audio industry. There isn't a lot of options that are available from a USB microphone perspective. So you'll have to pick from whatever 2 or 3 options are available, which are the best ones that are available, and stay tuned till the end to know what is my recommended USB microphone, and it'll give you a benefit of getting both of these options in there. So stay tuned towards the end. But from an options perspective, you are limited when it comes to USB microphones, and that can be a big drawback or disadvantage if you're going for a USB microphone. Now, with that out of the way, let's look at some of the advantages and disadvantages of the XLR microphone. Now, XLR is like the accepted standard in audio quality in the audio industry, and which is why you will see that most professional podcasters use XLR microphones. In fact, that is what the music industry also uses. They never use a USB microphone because it isn't ideal for them. One of the primary reasons being that they need to record multiple instruments along with the vocals into the DAW, which then they can mix, edit and release. So that is one of the reasons why they never go for a USB microphone. And that is one of the reasons why XLR is the standard that is accepted in the audio industry. Now, the biggest advantage for the XLR microphones is that you'll be able to use multiple microphones and record into your computer. Now that is the biggest advantage with XLR microphone. Another advantage is that XLR microphones are slightly cheaper than that of the USB microphones. But the caveat is that in order for XLR microphones to work, you will need an equipment called as the audio interface or an audio mixer. So if you look at the cost of the audio interface and the microphone, and if you total it out, then it comes to pretty much the same cost as that of the USB microphone. So from that perspective, if you look at it, there isn't much of a difference. But then the benefit is that if you invest in an audio mixer, then the next time if you want to buy another microphone, you only need to go for the microphone. So that ways, from a long-term perspective, XLR microphones can turn out to be much cheaper than that of USB microphones. Now, XLR microphones are the best for people who are recording in studios and has multiple speakers or multiple people on their podcast. Like for example, if you're two people hosting your podcast, or if you are recording interviews in a studio. In these kind of setups, the best microphone to go with is an XLR microphone. Pair it with a good mixer and you will be able to get two different tracks, and it is easier for you to go and edit as well. So the recommended microphone in these situations is an XLR microphone. Now the disadvantages of an XLR microphone. Now the obvious disadvantage of an XLR microphone is in the cost, because if you're buying an XLR microphone, then you need to spend additionally for an equipment like an audio interface or maybe an audio mixer. That is additional cost. From a long-term perspective, if you look at it, it might turn out to be cheaper because you'll be able to plug in multiple microphones into the audio mixer. So that way the next time if you need to buy another microphone for your co-host, you only need to buy the microphone. But otherwise, from a beginner perspective, it can turn out to be a little costly. Now, every XLR microphone needs something called as phantom power to power it. And this is usually about 48 volt that it'll need to power the microphone. So which means that if you're going around shopping for an audio interface or an audio mixer, you might want to keep in mind that your audio mixer needs to provide 48 volt of phantom power in order for your microphone to work optimally. So go ahead and buy something that has that option. Anything less than 48 volt phantom power will mean that your microphone isn't working optimally. Now these days, most audio interfaces and audio mixers come with phantom power in it, but I've seen some of these audio interfaces only providing about 24 volt of phantom power, which isn't really enough. So look for audio interfaces that gives at least 48 volt. That is something that you might want to keep in mind if you're going and buying an XLR microphone and an audio interface for the XLR microphone. So what is my recommendation? XLR microphone or a USB microphone? And that will entirely depend upon what format and how is it that you're recording your podcast. But if you are a beginner, if you're getting started with your podcast and you're recording solo at home, or maybe you're planning to record remote interviews using a software like that of Zencastr, which is what I recommend for recording remote interviews. In that case, you can go with a USB microphone, and which is what I would recommend because it is the easiest to get started with. You can just plug it into your computer and you're ready to get started with your recording. And there are a lot of good quality USB microphones that you'll be able to get in the range of 9,000 to 10,000 rupees. And that is an investment that you will have to make if you want to get started and you have to record quality audio. There is no compromise on that. So go with a USB microphone, buy a good quality USB microphone and you can get started. But if you're somebody who's running a podcast that has two people or multiple people in the show recording from the same room or in a studio, or if you are planning to bring in guests into your studio and then recording the episodes, then you should go with an XLR microphone. Don't go with a USB microphone because it won't serve the purpose, and for the long term, it'll be an unnecessary wastage of money that you'll be doing. So go with a good quality XLR microphone, buy a good audio mixer, and then get started with your podcast. So that is basically what I would recommend. If you're going with a solo podcast or a remote interview format, then go with a USB microphone. But if you're planning to record multiple people in the same room or in studio recording, bringing in guests into the studio, then go with an XLR microphone. Now, what are my recommended USB microphones and XLR microphones? So the best USB microphones that I would recommend is one, the Audio-Technica ATR 2100X, the USB version. It also has an XLR version, but the USB version of it, if you're looking for a USB microphone, it's one excellent quality microphone to get started with. Now, another option that I would recommend is a Samsung Q2U. Now, The Samsung Q2U is a microphone that offers you both the interfaces. It has the USB interface and the XLR also. There isn't a lot of difference between the Samsung Q2U and the Audio-Technica ATR 2100X. So if you're okay to spend a little additional, then go with the Samsung Q2U, because that will give you both of these options, which in the long term, if tomorrow you are planning to go use the XLR option, then it will be very helpful. The third microphone that I would recommend is a Rode NT USB microphone, which is again a good quality USB microphone. If you can spend some additional money, then you can always go with the Blue Yeti. While it isn't the best in terms of audio quality and it picks a lot of noise from around, it's still a very nice microphone and that gives you a lot of options as well. So the Blue Yeti is another recommended USB microphone. Now, the XLR microphones, obviously the Audio-Technica ATR 2100 XLR model is a very decent microphone to get started with. The Samsung Q2U is another microphone. Like what I said, it will give you both the USB and the XLR option as well. You can also go with the Audio-Technica AT2035 microphone, which is a very nice microphone, XLR microphone. Or you can also go with the Shure MV7X microphone, which will be a slightly costlier affair if you're planning to go for that. So those are my recommended microphone. And the best microphone of all of this, which I would recommend for you to get started, is a Samsung Q2U. Like what I said, it gives you both of these options. It's a decent microphone, records good quality audio. Pair it with a good audio mixer and it'll be amazing. But if you don't want to do that, you can always use the USB option on that and it records excellent audio. So that is all that I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed the information that I shared in this video. If you did, then don't forget to click the subscribe button. You should be able to see that somewhere here. Click the subscribe button and the bell notification in order to stay updated with the latest videos that I release. And if you like this video, then don't forget to click the thumbs up button here so that I know that what I created is something that you enjoyed and I'll be able to release more such videos. If you have any specific questions around the microphones, then drop them in the comment section below and I'll be more than happy to respond to it. That is all that I have for today's video. Do listen to the Podcasting University podcast, where I share a lot of practical and implementable podcasting tips. The link to subscribe is there in the description box below. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast today itself. And all of the links for the microphones that I spoke about in today's episode and the recommended equipments for getting started with your podcast is there in the description box below. Go ahead and purchase whatever suits you. These links are affiliate links. So if you choose to click that link and purchase from that link, then I will earn a small commission at no extra cost to you. So that is all that I have for this video. I'll be back again with another video on podcasting tips. Until then, keep watching TPU TV.